Microsoft was a much better company to have worked in than it was to work in. If you've been with a startup and you've gone bankrupt, the reason why you're so attractive to other founders as a co-founder is that you have this instinct, you can smell that something is bad. I remember I had that conversation with the HR people. How do you think you're gonna survive and cope with all these rules and stuff? Well, I used to work for Microsoft. They're 10 times bigger than you and everything is run by Excel. I think I can do it. Okay, here's a token that you can use on this machine to get a beer. And that was running on cryptocurrency infrastructure. So it was a blockchain. And normally that would be gold or something. But we backed it in beers. And I was, oh, yeah, that works. So people are, oh, so that's how it works. That's a stable coin.
It takes for the person to understand ledgers and bitcoins and crypto. Just give, convert to the beer. Yeah. Welcome to the episode of AI Ranch, where we discuss business and AI, and we are flying around the world. Today we are in Oslo, Norway, and my question to you is, do you trust your bank, or you just have to be with the bank because you have money, right? Today my guest is Yngvar Ugland, who is the innovation lead at DNB. He's also experienced in Microsoft, startups, all sorts of great stuff like fridge experiments, and the questions are still here, are like banks or future banks, the personal AI experts or surveillance machines, and also is everything that Microsoft touches dies, as we know. So welcome, Yngvar.
Thank you.
I read that you have actually mathematician background. Is there anything from your mathematician, education, your worldview that affects how you look at AI?
Yeah, probably. I started doing computer programming when I was 10 years old, and then I for a while I stopped because I fell totally in love with mathematics. So then I didn't start programming again until I was in mid university, because the real beauty was mathematics. And then when I was at university, AI was some narrow thing that no one in computer science even cared about. It was only a few mathematicians, because you couldn't use it for anything. And that's what we, as a mathematician, that's what we loved, because it was pure beauty and didn't have any applications, but doesn't matter, it's mathematics.
No applications, pure beauty. So, sounds a little bit like nowadays, quantum computing, all of the...
But theoretically, the theory is so beautiful, and it's consistent, and sometimes you can even see that it's actually reflected in nature. So for many years, when I went to the Norwegian Institute of Technology, my mother said, "Oh, finally, you're going to be an engineer." Well, kind of. So what's your field? It's mathematics. Well, what is that?
Yeah, I cannot fix my TV.
So I have never been able to explain to my mother, what is it that you work with? Until a few years ago, when I said, have you ever heard about AI? Oh yeah, that's dangerous. Well, dangerous. Not necessarily, but you have heard about it. Do you know what I was doing in Trondheim when I was studying, and I couldn't explain it to you or anyone, not even people in the computer science department? Yeah, I remember. That was AI. Wow.
But do you remember the time you were at the time, did you see the papers? Did you understood any of that? When the Jan LeCun, when the Hinton, when they published the stuff, which is like the backprop, all of these AI models.
Well, the first book I read was what's his name? He's a legend. I met him in San Francisco. He's at Berkeley now. British guy.
British? Oh.
He wrote a book with, it's called...
we will find it quickly.
Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach.
Oh, yeah, Russell. Yeah.
Stuart Russell, yeah.
Stuart Russell, yeah. Sure, I know him, yeah.
Yeah, and this came out in '94, and it had it had the title "Artificial Intelligence: A Modern Approach," because now we could try again because it's been dead for so long. And I remember when I met him in San Francisco a few years ago. He said when we wrote that book, we added one final chapter, and it was called "But What If We Succeed?"
Oh.
And he says, now I think we have succeeded. And all the things we wrote about in that extra chapter at the end is like, that's what I worry about now. And I remember he said, what worries me is that how do we control this power that is much more powerful than we are?
Is it possible
for all eternity?
Yeah, that is. By the way, for listeners who don't know, that book, that is like the golden textbook for, I don't know, like 20 years in the computer science, probably, or maybe
30.
Maybe even more, right?
Came out in '94, I think.
Right, yeah, there's like a 4th edition, or maybe even soon 5th. So, but that's I often think about that book in the sense that there's this such a that's the size, right?
Yeah.
And then I would think these deep learning stuff, it's like maybe 10% at the end, and I was just thinking always like because everything is running on deep learning, if somebody takes from that first stuff and starts merging it together with the last, it'd be great things happening.
So to your original question, has it affected how I look at AI? Yeah, I'm very glad I got to understand this from the ground up, from the mathematics side. And although there's a lot of frameworks I don't understand in detail how they work, but if you just abstract it to the mathematics, I can pretty well understand most of it. Hopefully better than many people that just came in and here's this magic framework and they can make magic of it with coding. I can't do that anymore. But I'm glad I came from that angle. Also, like in my PhD project right now, I look at trust and large language models. And when people say AI these days, like the general public, when they say AI, they mean large language models. And at least I look at large language models exclusively as a statistical or a stochastic model, which means it's statistics plus some randomness. So at least that frames the way I look at it and frames the way I kind of approach this whole research. As in, there is some uncertainty there that we cannot control, so we have to deal with it in other ways, and it affects the justified trust of those models.
It's kind of funny to look that there's somebody who blindly trusts everything that LLM comes, somebody who like denies everything, and then there's a distribution of people. I read also that you've been in Microsoft, and there's funny saying that everything that Microsoft touches, dies, Skype, Nokia, Yammer, the Wunderlist, and now they touched even GitHub, which is scary, and then they touched OpenAI. So your experience with Microsoft, is it that bad?
Well, we have a saying in Norway that if you know how the sausage is made, you become a vegetarian.
Oh, it is that bad.
But I think that goes for a lot of things. I mean, I work in a bank. I mean, we're very successful. We have happy customers. We make a lot of money, but also we have a lot of legacy, right? And it's like that within every company. And I heard this from people that works in Google. It's like, oh, all this legacy. We want to work with startups instead. And it's like that with Microsoft also. But I think I started in 1999 in the UK. The .com thing was still going like crazy. That turned out to be very bad timing because I got my first stock options in March 2000, and there was an all-time high in December '99, and it took it 13 years in order to beat that again. So my options were underwater for such a long time. But I remember when I stepped out of Microsoft, just randomly, that turned out that the last email I read on my corporate computer was from Bill Gates to all full-time employees with subject line, stepping down from Microsoft. So it's like, and I was like, is he writing to me that because I'm stepping down from Microsoft? No, he's stepping down. And then he said, I'm gonna spend 3 years to kind of do it gradually. And then I think, okay, timing couldn't have been better. But after that, it's like I went out and did like some startups and scale-ups and like software companies, software products. And having worked in Microsoft was an excellent experience. And I remember I told myself so many times, Microsoft was a much better company to have worked in than it was to work in. So coming with all that experience on what works and what doesn't work, for good and for bad, super experience to bring in when you're building a company of your own. So, and to your question about does everything die? Well, most of those things you mentioned, they still live, right?
Nokia.
Well, true. But realistically, didn't Nokia kill themselves?
I know. Microsoft phone, you know.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. I remember, like the saying was, because before iPhone, Microsoft had smartphones, but with a stylus, and they also had products with multi-touch screens. But I think this was a Bill Gates thing. They call it the Surface. It was a table computer. It was like, how much of a mass market are you going to manage to create on that? So they had all the technology. They had the device, they had the technology, and from what I understood, they couldn't get multi-touch to run on a small device on Windows.
Yeah, they wanted Windows.
So it was killed. And then I remember they had this guy up there, and he showed, well, I have an open source OS that I can run on the same machines, and multi-touch works well here. Should we collaborate? And one of the top bosses in the Windows division said, no, if it's not Windows, it's not going to happen. And Steve Baldwin said, if it's not Windows, it's not going to happen. And that guy went down to San Francisco, and I think his name was Andy Rubin. So that was Android.
Yeah.
So he went to San Francisco, and someone else picked it up.
So Microsoft passed on Android. We don't need Android.
No, but that's just very stubborn, and they lost that position. But there was something about that was my gut feeling at the time when I left, that so many of my colleagues in Redmond, Microsoft headquarters. They left Microsoft and started working for the bookstore on the other side of Highway 520, and I couldn't understand why that was. And I saw that we're not doing anything with it. We have that position of the smartphone with the stylus, but we're not taking it further. And also at the time, Microsoft had like the biggest internet property in the world with Hotmail and MSN. Remember, we used MSN Messenger, and they didn't do anything with it.
Well, they killed two of them, MSN and Skype.
Yeah, and then so I left in June 2006, and in August 2006, the bookstore on the other side of the road launched Amazon Web Services. And that's what all the people that went there was working on without telling us.
I don't want to jump too far away in the conversation, but like your example is perfectly illustrates like this huge corporation bias and the way how it works. Like, and now you are in the position in like a significant bank with like an innovation department. How you can avoid being in the same trap when like great people, great ideas just like leave from your company? Well,
the good thing about having been before and experienced how you could do big failures like that is that you build some intuition. You kind of sense or can smell, so to speak, when when things are when certain patterns are repeating themselves. It's the same with if you've been with a startup and you've gone bankrupt. The reason why you're so attractive to other founders as a co-founder is that you have this instinct. You can smell that something is bad. You don't know why, but something worries you, and that experience is invaluable. So, and I think after having done a few startups and scale-ups before I joined DNB, the fact that I had been with Microsoft was probably almost a condition that I like going from small companies, growing like crazy, and then going to this big corporation. I remember I had that conversation with the HR people. How do you think you're gonna survive and cope with all these rules and stuff? Well, I used to work for Microsoft. They're 10 times bigger than you, and everything is run by Excel. I think I can do it.
That's good.
So I think that hunch or like that pattern recognition that just happens without you don't know why, but something smells. Something is wrong.
Have you smelled something good so far?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been with DNB Bank for 8 years. So when I say that there's room for improvement, I mean everybody knows that, and there's room for improvement everywhere. So it's if when you succeed with something at that scale and with that impact, you can change society. Well, there's a lot of other things that are potentially changing or challenging society and societal structures these days. So I'm very happy to be in.
But then like the right. So just your hunch, your like senses of the previous experience one way. But is there any like method or something that you have developed in DNB where you can see this idea is worth following, this one is not, or what's the way how you approach things?
So I think most of what I've been doing in DNB is like dealing with high uncertainty technologies or high uncertainty projects. So high risk, high reward type of things. If
you give a good example.
Well, like one example is so an example and also an illustrative way of how we think is that like say just before COVID. Everyone in DNB that works with product development and engineering was on some kind of, now we're going to make the best mobile experience for our customers, be it in consumer banking or corporate banking or private savings or investments or anything. Everyone was about building the best mobile experience for the bank. And we were saying things like, okay, now that is mainstream, what if sometime in the future we don't have mobile phones anymore? That was a radical idea, and no one was like, why would that happen? Because we know that we have the mobile bank now. Well, also remember that 10 years ago, everyone used the online bank in a web browser, and 15 years before that, we went to physical branches. And no one would have believed that we would stop with any of those. It's just very hard to see when you're in it, and this is what is valid, unless you're trained in challenging that and looking for from history that something radical will come along. We don't always know what it is, but we have to try something and kind of figure that out. So we built some crazy experiments with that. We have an autonomous fridge. And a lot of crazy stuff. We did...
autonomous fridge. Did it drive itself to the shop?
No, it was the shop. It was an autonomous... it's basically a shop without employees. And the thing kind of came out of that idea that what if there are no phones in the future? Well, we didn't know at the time what that would be, but like, what can we do today to check out how will people respond to that? And this was before pay with tap was very like widespread. So what we did was we were tapping cards or inserting cards or swiping it. Yeah. You could. Some people were tapping with their phone, but it was not very easy. So we figured out, okay, what can we do? What about if we don't have the phones? How can you pay without having a card, without having cash, without having a phone. So we did something called pay with your face, but not with a phone. So just like...
The fridge recognizes your face, yeah?
Yeah, and then so the fridge was... so the first experiment was we did that at a coffee shop in Oslo, with real coffee, real people and stuff. And then we thought, okay, what if we do this in like take Amazon Go, that was the shit at the time, it was cutting edge. What if we take that and like multiply it by 10 when it comes to how we apply technology? No weights, no sensors, no chips. Everything should be done with the computer vision. So facial recognition of the user and everything in that fridge or that store should be done with computer vision. Of course, we realized, we figured out why did not Amazon Go do it with just computer vision. It was very hard, but it was we learned a lot from that. So
wait. So the Amazon Go, that was the shop where basically at the end it turned out there was hundreds of cameras where Indians were watching the video feeds. There was AI as well, but there was a lot of human in the loop. And then you build something like that in a very small scale with the fridge and with the face and with the monitoring. So why it didn't work? It seems to be possible to do.
Well, it was possible, but so when we do the kind of thing, it's like what is the biggest risk or the highest uncertainty? Is it technology risk? Is it like a regulatory risk? Is it like does it make sense to build it? Does it have a business model, or would anyone use it? So in this case, there was a lot of regulatory challenges because for the facial recognition, we had like now every time you
store your face,
you store it on your phone, and there's you're still not allowed, as far as I know, to have like a central registry of biometric data, and that made it problematic. So it was easy to run a prototype, a one-off, but it basically meant you had to enroll on every kind of station or every unit. So that was a regulatory challenge. But like that's okay. We know that, but we can learn a lot of the other things. So we figured out, okay, that means that this is not just a shop. It's basically a company of its own, because we had to build an inventory system. So, and that basically meant that we had a multi-asset ledger. So like the money that comes in and the goods that comes out, in a way we figured that, okay, that's the only way we can make sure that people come and refill it when something. So that was always up to date, and you didn't have to count manually. But it also meant that we could we used it as a way of pedagogically explain stablecoins, because we issued tokens that ran on that machine, that fridge, and said, okay, here's a token that you can use on this machine to get a beer. And that was running on cryptocurrency infrastructure. So it was a blockchain. So we were minting those and burning them whenever something came out, and it was backed in physical goods, something physical of value. And normally that would be gold or something, but we backed it in beers, and we're like, oh, yeah, that works. So people are, oh, so that's how it works. That's a stable coin.
It takes for the person to understand ledgers and bitcoins and crypto, just to give convert to the beer.
And a fun story about that was, so I remember one of the top execs, she asked me, so are you saying if you have issued your own currency that runs on this fridge? Yes, but that means that this is the central bank of this currency. Yeah, but you can't do that. Well, of course we can. We just did. The beer you just drank came from you paid in that currency. And then a funny thing was that one day the whole system was down. So the central bank went down, and it turned out that the cleaning staff had unplugged the machine because they needed it for the vacuum machine.
Hopefully it had the memory. But by the way, you did not answer the question, but it'd be interesting to hear. Is there anything more than your hunch, or DNB is trusting on your senses, your smell, right, for these projects, or what is the way how you select them?
Yeah, so it's once you get some experience with this, you kind of develop a good intuition.
So it is intuition. They trust on your intuition.
I mean, there's no way you can analyze what the future will be. Yeah. So many people have done that, and look at their
fools predict future.
Yeah. So it means the acknowledgement that there's a lot of things you don't know, and there's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. That is insight. And acknowledging that, it means, okay, of all these things, what do we think we should try first? And when you have no data and no experience, well, intuition is what you do. But it doesn't mean that, okay, we feel that we're going to go in this direction and we're going to continue forever. It means we do something to see if we can learn something about what we don't know. Or about what we don't know that we don't know, because you can't necessarily have a hypothesis. So it's like in research also. Sometimes you just talking to people and you just gathering data to see, can I learn something more about what I don't know, so that sometime down the road I can formalize or articulate a hypothesis. So you do something, you learn something more, and then you take one step and figure, does that make sense? If yes, you can take one step further. If not, take a step back and do something else.
Well, that's amazing. Like, I mean, also coming from all sorts. I've been working with AI with big pharma. I've been working with also, of course, startups and things. It's not often that somebody honestly is willing to say that to do these moonshots or these innovative projects, it is actually comes down to the intuition and to the experience, and not some kind of calculation that you can prove, you know. So, but by the way. So imagine you have this cool project, maybe not a fridge, maybe something more down to earth. Do you see, like in a corporate situation, there is this antibodies, right? Some kind of like defense against innovation. You know, like you try to deploy somewhere, and then they find out all sorts of reasons why we should not do it and push against it. Do you have these kind of situations as well?
Yeah, but I think everyone has that. And the bigger you become, and the older you become as a company, the larger those the polarization becomes. But also it's that's kind of a matter of trying to figure out, like, it's a leadership thing. Make sure that you're setting direction from the top, and make sure that everyone understands that, okay, not everyone is building the new things. Someone are running what we're doing today, and that balance is like in all established companies. You need someone that is looking at the short term and someone that is looking at the long term. And in this book I wrote, the Moonshot Method, I use this metaphor of a car that has two speedometers. It's because there's this Norwegian, it's from a cartoon. There's a car called Il Tempo Gigante, and it's from a race from the most seen Norwegian movie of all times. It's from 1975. Ooh. And so this is a race car, and it has two speedometers. So it's easy for Norwegians to remember, because I saw that when I was a kid. So the first speedometer is it's about this, where you can do analysis, you can ask your customers, you can systematically just improve and test stuff. Use AI, for example, new technologies to get better quality, to automate, optimize, make things more effective, happier customers, all this, that's speedometer one. And that's necessary, but it's not sufficient. Because sometime in the future, something else will come that is driven from new technology that you couldn't analyze with your speedometer one glasses on. And this is where the high uncertainty is. but this is also where the high opportunity space is. And this is where you don't know everything. You're trying to build this portfolio of options for what might become tomorrow or the day after tomorrow's Speedometer 1. So it's kind of an extreme version of the three horizons model, where Horizon 1 is defend and protect, Horizon 2 is grow, and Horizon 3 is viable options for the future. So the Speedometer 2 is kind of that. So once you acknowledge that you need both, then it's much easier to communicate and to just acknowledge that, yes, we're doing two different things, but
not expecting from one the other.
Yeah, and also that's why most startups fail, and that's because they're doing high uncertainty, high risk stuff. It's the same with all type of entrepreneurship. The more risk you take, the more often you will fail. But also, if you succeed, the higher reward. And that's the same with, that's why the biggest companies these days, they were startups just 20 years ago, or like OpenAI just turned 10 years.
Yeah.
Anthropic founded in 2021, something. So now like Google, that's a legacy company. So, but my point is that within an established company, if you get the balance of running your business today and still improving by applying new technology to that, and also inventing the future, because you have that source of income, you're not going to run out of runway. You can live with experiments that fail as long as you manage it well and kind of feed that into, like, so Speedometer 1, Speedometer 2, and it kind of, after some time, Speedometer 1 would be what you run in Speedometer 1 will be from yesterday, so the day after.
Excellent. Great metaphors. But so in the larger structure, the Speedometer 2, right? The futuristic one, Horizon 3. Are you building that with your own team? You're sometimes outsourcing. How are you managing that? I heard some companies, larger corporations, that they do the experiments using some external teams, because the internal teams, they are tied in their ways. They know how they have always done things, and it's very difficult for them to break out.
Yeah. So I have this also. This is a chapter by itself in the book that is called "Cursed by Knowledge, Blessed by Ignorance."
Sounds like a startup, versus the.
So the way we do it, so we have a small team, startup size, and we're not experts in anything that has to do with how we used to do things. That's what we call blessed by ignorance, because we don't understand why things have to be so complicated. And that's a good starting point for it's a blessing in Speedometer 2. It's a curse in Speedometer 1, and vice versa. So we try to do this as much as we can internally and have small teams that are autonomous. That means we have scarce resources. So we need to be very careful about the projects we pick and how long we run until we have a decision point on whether to continue or stop. So small experiments. What's the soonest point in time we can have learned enough to figure out whether we pivot or persevere? So and also by having it internally, but as a separate unit, Speedometer 2 mindset, we avoid that cursed by knowledge type of thing. But also by being on the inside, it's easier to once we have reduced uncertainty of something that, okay, this will actually work, it's easier to hand off or co-create with the rest of the bank and make it scale. And that's the thing that is very hard for a startup to do at the impact that a big company like DNB can do.
So like nowadays, moving towards the good stuff of AI, there's a lot of activity. I think that it was called like this. If the Americans have all of these cool AI companies with OpenAI and stuff, Europeans have Revolut, the digital banking to the, like, as they say, the future of digital banking, or the way they reinvented the way how you work with bank, with apps, with digital services. So is there something you can learn from them? What is your vision for what does the future bank look like? Like we talked about the fridges. Maybe you can overcome that. You can pay by, let's say, by hand or by face, or maybe it is even something more with data.
I think one of the things that Revolut is doing very cleverly is the way they do onboarding or customer acquisition, because they're really just they're blessed by ignorance. They have no idea of how big legacy banks are doing that. So if when you're traveling, you arrive in an airport in a new country, there's just two things you need. It's an Uber and cash. So you go to a cash machine, and then you can, so they have cash machines, and then you can choose, do I want to withdraw cash without my own card, or do I want to insert my own card, use that as identification, and then at a better rate withdraw money from Revolut if I become a customer there and then. And they do the whole KYC and onboarding thing, know your customer. So they do that at that point, and they have never been in contact. They're not did any outreach. They're onboarding customers just by being where customers need to be. So it's super clever. And I think most of the times the future will be invented by someone that is on the outside of the existing. But it doesn't mean that that the established companies always need to be made obsolete. Look at space. Last time we went to the moon, it was NASA. Next time we're going to the moon, also NASA. But who's flying for them? It's a private company. So SpaceX invented the future of rockets. It's still NASA that is flying, and still NASA is going to take us to, or like an established organization that is going to run the programs that takes us to the moon and to Mars.
So you acknowledge that they have done a good job, right? But then, what's your vision? Like, what could be the way? Well, let's not think too far. Like, what would be like a great model today? For bank.
So the problem with having worked with trying to create the future through trial and error is that you realize how little you know about the future. Yep. So I will always say that I have no idea what the future brings. But when everything changes very fast because of AI, everything is changing a lot. Then I always like to look for what is it that is not changing.
Okay.
And although technology is changing fast, human beings aren't really changing a lot. And there's another thing if you look over the 200 years that DNB has been around.
200 years.
203 years, I think. So like I say, we're 200 years old, and some of our IT systems are even older. That's a classic bank joke. So lame. Everything has changed over 200 years about how we do banking. But there's one thing that hasn't changed, and that is people have trust in the bank that the bank will take care of your money. So I think that is the thing that is not going to change. Because if that changes, then everything changes. And we're basically saying we don't have those trust institutions anymore. And it takes a long time to build up. So I think, and this is also the reason why I now mainly focus on research in this industry PhD that I'm doing, and that is, how do we go from a human to human or a human to organization trust dynamic to what happens when we introduce a large language model in that setting. So I have a scientific approach to that, and because I think, well, my big idea is that Norway is a high trust society, and we have high trust institutions. If we're introducing large language models in those situations where typically you ask the bank for advice, and a lot is at stake. It means something. You're vulnerable, but there's not a strict right or wrong answer. It's not like you can put it into a calculator. It's more like value driven. Given what's important to me, how would you advise me to spend my money, or what should I do in this situation? Whether it's like inheritance or divorce or whatever, like you getting married, or how do I spend all this money that I just won on the lottery? So when there is this trust relationship between the bank and the customer, what happens when you introduce a stochastic model?
But you use this. It's tricky. I'm just thinking while talking the private banking. When you have some assets you want to manage, especially like a high value asset like individuals. So basically, and then there is just the general banking. And now with these like you say large language models with proper systems, which you could make it that there is very little hallucinations basically. Yeah. So you could bring that service to general public, right? Like high quality consultants.
Exactly. And the idea is that I think that it's a better position to come from, that you're a high trust society and a high trust institution, when you're introducing large language model into that dynamic, than if you're a low trust society with low trust institutions and introducing large language models. And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, because I think there's a big unbalance between perceived trust and justified trust in these large language models. And I hear people saying that, well, I remember when they used to hallucinate, they don't do that anymore. And I'm like, whoa, I'm so glad I'm researching this, because that's just an example of perceived trust is sky high, but whereas justified trust is low. And once you have that imbalance, you as the person with irrationally unproportionally high perceived trust, you're becoming vulnerable to this large language model, and potentially, I mean, there can be very undesired outcomes.
So that's the risk side, but from your research and the way how you think about this, do you see that there's also a opportunity there, right? Like that, it's if you use it properly, then it could change the way how you spend money, for example.
Yeah. So large language models are now perfect persuasion machines. They are designed to be they're self-confident. They're helpful. They're fluent in language, and they're perfect at doing all the things that is required to kind of fool a human's psychology. So we easily get manipulated by how they are designed. We believe it because they come across as so self-confident. So I think that there is an important position in the future to have companies and institutions that are trust machines, that are using the capabilities of large language models, but not not just as such, that there is some kind of other mechanism in there that that kind of balances this disproportionate level of perceived trust versus justified trust. So that's the opportunity, and I'm an optimist. Some of my fellow scientists will say that large language model. I'm so fed up with large language models, and the space of AI is so much bigger than large language models. I think large language models is some of the most powerful we've ever created, but they are stochastic models. It means it's statistics plus uncertainty, and if you don't recognize or acknowledge that, then you're in a dangerous place.
But they're trained on data generated primarily now the synthetic data, but also from humans. And humans are not also very deterministic always. And
also they're trained on data that is like, if we simplify a little bit, it's 60% of the training data is the open internet and 40% is Reddit. So
that's the Reddit thing.
Kind of just to put it a little bit on the edge, but what is it? Basically, what's on the internet? It's mostly content that has been popular, right? Because people write on the internet to get traction. So already, it's not like an encyclopedia. Most of the internet is something that you write instead of something else because someone will read it.
That's very cool. There's these underlying biases that nobody even can perceive. But then, as your colleagues say, the AI is there's other opportunities as well. Like, do you see already some underrated AI opportunities that nobody is talking about, but in the bank makes a lot of sense? Like maybe something more interesting than just credit scoring or stuff.
I think the biggest upside is anti-money laundering and fraud. And already we're doing a lot of things there, but that's been traditionally more traditional machine learning, and I think there's I've seen people that are using like transformer models where the tokens aren't words, but they're other constructs. So you can use the same engine from the large language models in other data sets as well. I hope there's, I think that's a very underrated and also underused, or at least an area where we haven't been as successful as we can. But also outside of banking, I mean, some of the things we see in medicine and stuff, and I would be almost disappointed if it isn't some kind of AI model that are coming up with the next breakthroughs in bigger scientific space, like quantum physics or black holes and stuff.
Yeah,
because I mean they have good imagination and a much bigger brain than human beings. So when you can do all that brute forcing, and then it's like you can come up with, of all the wild ideas you can come up with, maybe there's gold in there.
And the quality is so much better. Like I myself also right now publishing one medical AI research in a collaboration with organizations. So if I published that like 5 years ago with all these AI tools, I would be very happy to publish it, let's say, in 2 days. But now, because I know what's possible, like I need to do so much better, like include, 30 more citations to do that more and that more. And by the way, for listeners who are not, technical background, this applies also. Probably you could attest this in a business school, for example. The students come with some kind of market research projects. They generate this in 30 minutes or something, and you immediately see that their quality could be 10x. So and because of these tools, right? It's the one thing you can do something fast, but to do it as the level of what you can do, it's. Have you already seen this in your research, right? And then
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're doing scientific research like I'm doing now, if you do it right, you can get a lot of help from these large language models. But it's like one of the first things I did was that, okay, I build my own scientific assistant and make sure that I update the prompt as soon as I decide that, okay, my concept or my fundament of what I'm doing is changing, so that my assistant always knows everything that I know. So we can have a conversation on the same level. And then if I forget something, I know that it's in the prompt. So the prompt for my scientific assistant is now more than 1,000 words. So, but one of the first things I did was I have to turn on this thinking mode, and it's simply because it goes slower.
Yeah.
And that's not because I need it to go slower. I need to think, and just by looking at the chain of thought, it's like, okay, these are the steps that produces the result. Okay, does it make sense? Does it make sense? And then, oh, this doesn't make sense at all. And why now are you trying to do this and this and that? This doesn't make sense. Okay, we need to have a conversation about this after. But just the fact that I can kind of watch the steps makes it easier for me. And just because it slows down, it's on a pace that my human brain works on.
By the way, there is this website of tracking IQs for the models. You can easily find it, and you can see that the €200 per month GPT 5.2 Pro, that one is like 140 plus IQ, and it does do these thinking tokens, so that repeated cycles so long. When I use it, like it's usually. So it's a huge difference if listeners have not tried it. Like if you try something like free version, some medium version, or the max version, there's like huge difference. Like the one with the max version, it runs like, let's say 30 minutes for one question, and the quality is so much better than anything else. So I don't think people fully realize how this, and this is actually, it comes back to your long system prompt. It's always funny to see that, the Claude and somebody is like publishing these long system prompts. From the research, what I have seen, they only work if you have a huge amount of cycles of thinking. They do not work with just like a quick answer.
So also I posted a question, or I posted on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, like where I just said, I have become much nicer with my AI assistant recently. Do you want to guess why? And a lot of good questions, so many comments. And the reason I actually reminds me I have to post why it actually was, but I can tell you, it's because I need to be able to like before I was writing as a programmer, just the words that I knew that the LLM needed to give me the most effective answer. The problem is that now, if I have like a problem that I've discussed with my LLM, like, okay, from this paper, what can we extract when it comes to the ability and benevolence in the Mayer Shore Davis model? Then, for example, I need to, because I need to, when I've been on vacation, I'm coming back and I need to get into that context. What am I doing? Well, I'm reading the conversation, and I need to have. It's not because of the LLM that I'm nicer. I write better sentences for my own sake, so it's easier to read, to get myself
understand
into
better. What did you want to do in first place?
Because the LLM's prompt is already there, and that's persisted. My prompt, I need to build it, my context, by reading the conversation. How did we get to here?
But there is something to that. I have probably people at Tesla, like you can easily write a few words, right? And then it gives you this huge information, and then you're starting, what did I want to do with this? And then it's maybe good to first formulate exactly what you want to do.
I've spent so much time on like, how do I want it to respond? Because we need to be level. It can't be, I'm just saying a little bit and it's just babbling. It's like, we need to collaborate on this. You need to understand this. I'm the boss here, and I only want answers in this way. and don't be too elaborate. Try to be crisp. And if you don't know, if you can't point to a source of something you're claiming, just say so. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Don't make things up.
Okay. So let's move forward regarding the. So this is really exciting about language models, and still, I think we agree that it is still being a little bit underused in what it could do. At the same time, of course, the trust issues, but you're working on that. We could expand on this a little bit. The bank, we have the financial assets. As they say, the data is the new gold, right? Or as you say it, data is the new oil. So are you planning something on that front? Like, do you see that there is some parallels with the financing or finances in the bank? And
now most of my focus is AI and large language models, but in New Tech Lab over the years, if you look a little bit broadly at it, it's basically been three things we've been looking at. It's everything AI, everything quantum, and everything crypto, blockchain, and that type of things. And then in the crypto space, and then I also mean like the Web3, and you could also maybe extend it into what we used to call the metaverse, but decentralized systems.
Okay.
So Web3, decentralized internet, decentralized authority, decentralized money.
Cool.
Central banks, from central banks to decentralized banks. But that also means decentralization of a lot of things. But the decentralization is basically a mechanism to compensate for trust. And still, there might be positions for trust institutions where you don't. That's one of the things with blockchain. It's very powerful to compensate for lack of trust between two parties. But if you have a trust party, well, why don't you use it? Because technology-wise, centralization is cheaper than decentralization, less compute and stuff. So in Norway, we have trust institutions, and like look at Brønnøysundregistrene, it's the central business registries. They're a highly trustworthy, centralized database for a lot of data, but business related, like which companies and who are the owners and stuff. So that is better. If you have that, it's a cheaper technology model than a decentralized register. But what about all type of other data? Now the centralized databases, so to speak, for like personal information, in practice is Meta. So because of Facebook and all that, like 20 years of collecting, I mean, what do they have? 30, 50,000 data points per individual. There's a reason why they can predict your behavior better than yourself. So in practice, that's your these are the
digital
databases
twins
today.
of yourself.
And what are they using those data points for? Well, to sell to their customers. So you are the user, and the customer is whoever wants to sell something to you, and the product is
yourself.
an ad to you. So whereas the model for so if data is a currency, why do I not get to keep it? So the model we've had with bank accounts and deposits of money is that if I have money, I deposit into the bank. Yes, the bank can repurpose that and use it as collateral for other financing stuff, but I get the interest. So I earn money on interest from depositing money into the bank. If I deposit data into a Facebook database, it's the other way around. Someone else is making money on that. So you can say, does it make sense to look at it as an asset that you can deposit and that you can, at least you control it? So
there might be opportunity. You've heard of these class action lawsuits about the generative AI, where the artists sue Google, OpenAI for the images, for the books, for the you know what I'm saying, yeah. So if there would be something, as you say, like D&B in the middle, right? And you store, let's say, your all of your artwork, and then they're like a middleman who manage your intellectual assets, you know?
Yeah, and we see that already. Like, look at cryptocurrency. The decentralized currency, not issued by any central bank. And well, I think this is not investment advice, but I think Bitcoin has become too big to fail. It might still go to zero, but who knows? More people hold, more people of DNB's private customers hold cryptocurrency than individual shares from the stock market. So, a tendency now is that, especially after there was a big crypto custody company that went bankrupt a few years ago. FTX, yeah. So if you have your cryptocurrency in one of the international online, you don't have a relationship with them. So FTX went under. Why wouldn't Coinbase or Binance go under? You don't know. And if they do, it's going to be gone. You not get them back. So all your other deposits, your investments are in your bank, and we see that there is a tendency that traditional banks are opening up to do custody of your cryptocurrency. So in a way, that's what would it be like with custody of data? Well, maybe a similar model. And also, you said art, and when I grew up, people put their physical valuables like gold, like jewelry and stuff, in a bank box, a physical box in the bank. And now artworks, the digital ones, they are NFTs. And although you can make a copy, and you can have exactly a copy of whatever that looks like, but it's still a copy. The NFT is the proof that this is yours. And there are
the copyrights are coming. So
and you can use NFTs as a proof of ownership of physical goods as well.
Yeah.
So in a way, the custody of everything that a bank box used to be might have a role in the future.
Exciting.
And then data. Well, how do you monetize it and so on? Well, in a model where the point is that it's owned by. It's the user's property, and the user should decide, or should at least benefit from interest, which is totally different model than saying that here's my data, use it to sell me as a product to someone else, where you get paid for me being the product.
That's challenging, very exciting. I think that's where you can have like a next level innovation, you know, like turn upside down all of these concepts, how the bank operate. But
and in a way, it's still just another framing of what I call the trust machine.
Trust, exactly.
So while LLMs are persuasion machines, there is a role for the trust machine.
So I think it's been really exciting topics that we have discussed. Let's do some quick questions towards the end. So coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
The early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Plan it or just improvise?
Mostly improvise, because I always know where the North Star is.
Your intuition. Big city buzz or cabin in the mountains?
Oh, let's say big city. I have a cabin on the ocean, a sailboat.
Oh, yeah. So sneakers or the...
Sneakers. Whatever the other option is, sneakers. Unless it's motorcycle boots.
Emails or phone calls?
Phone calls.
Meetings or memos?
Meetings.
Podcasts or books?
Oh, so I read more books than I listen to podcasts, but I am in more podcasts than I write books.
Okay. So save money or spend on experience? You have the right answer and the real answer?
That's a very value-laden question. That would be hard for a large language model to answer without knowing me well enough.
Well, she's been trained on Reddit, so it will manage.
No, I mean, experience is, that one. I mean, a combination, obviously, but
Combination.
Yeah.
What's the book, movie, or song that brings you up, that resets you when you need the new boost?
Song, Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. Movie, either The Matrix or there's a wonderful small Chinese film from the 90s that they call The Road Home. It's just a piece of art.
Well, we'll need to watch that one. Yeah, Matrix, I know.
It's so slow. It's the slowest movie you've ever seen.
Oh,
yeah.
That's interesting reset. Is there any tiny habit that makes your day better?
Procrastination.
That's a habit or something that just happens.
I mean, but seriously, if I have an overload of tasks, I will do. If I do them sequentially, there's not enough time. If I start procrastinating, so much of the thinking will have been done on a background thread in my brain that I can do so much more like that at the end.
Yeah.
And I would never have been able to do as much and achieve as much as I do if I hadn't been procrastinating.
Is there some place where the intuition hits you?
Yeah, airplanes, because no internet.
Yeah, I was always thinking that, like, every time we're in the airplane, open the notebook, start writing stuff, and then I should do this without internet.
Yeah, and I've been a couple of times without internet over the last year. One was Burning Man in Africa, 1 week without internet in the desert in Africa. It just frees up your mind. And I was sailing across the North Sea 3 days with no internet, no connection with human beings at all. It's a total refresh of your whole brain.
What's the most Norwegian thing about you? What you do?
Yeah. It's I say
Yep.
It's the hardest thing about learning Norwegian language, to understand those sounds that are just basically just in various ways. It's so hard to understand. Does it mean like, oh yeah, or not at all? Just nuances. And I didn't know this until someone who's learning Norwegian told me. I have no idea if you're excited or sad right now. Huh.
Yeah, there is this.
Yeah.
The Swedish also do it.
Yeah.
So what's the best advice you have ignored?
Probably don't take things so seriously. Well, I should have known that earlier.
What skill you wish they would teach in the schools?
Imagination.
What object on your desk represents the best yourself?
There's always something that is unfinished, something that is in progress, which I think is mostly that my desk is always a mess, because if I just cleaned it up, I will feel so empty because I threw away all these things that all of a sudden could have become something great. They're like unfinished work, unfinished ideas.
If you could ban one phrase from corporate speech, what could it be?
If I could?
If you could delete or remove one catchphrase they use in corporate settings.
Make a great plan and execute it well.
They do say that a lot. What's the one thing that people think about banks that's totally wrong?
Let me turn it around. Most people don't know that private banks are printing most of the money.
Whoa.
They think that the central bank is doing it.
They can do this?
The central bank is only printing cash, like coins and bills. 90% of the money is printed as credit in the banks.
Okay, let's go. What's the thing that you think would never work but turned out to be working, technology-wise?
I would never think that language would be the path towards intelligence.
Yeah.
I didn't see a large language model. Yeah. I didn't expect foundation models to succeed on language.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember agent systems 10 years ago, agent languages, how they communicate. Now they communicate in natural language.
Yeah. Like GPT-2 could barely count reliably to 10. GPT-3 could explain jokes.
Yeah.
Didn't see it coming.
Yeah. So if you could rename your innovation lab in something less buzzwordy or maybe even more buzzwordy, what could it be?
Well, it was never called an innovation lab. It's a new tech lab. So in a way, it was never an innovation lab. But I kind of already have. I call it the Moonshot unit.
Moonshot unit. That's good. So if failure had a flavor, taste, what could it be?
Coca-Cola.
That's funny.
You don't know why?
Oh, tell me why.
Because you want more of it, or you should do more of it, because that's learning.
Yeah.
And I say Coca-Cola, not Pepsi, because Pepsi is success. Coca-Cola is failure, because Pepsi always wins the blind test, because it's designed to succeed short term. Coca-Cola always wins if you have to drink a case or many bottles.
And nobody still knows how to make Coca-Cola. They have this vault.
Yeah. They have open source cola in Norway. You should try it. Tøyen Cola.
Oh yeah.
The recipes on.
Is it good?
Yeah, I like it. It's a little bit more cinnamon than you would expect.
If you would need to give TED Talk about something that's not related to your work, what would it be?
Purpose.
That's just great. You not often meet people from such large organizations, trust organizations, as you say, corporations as DNB, where there is such a open-minded and, like you say, moonshot approach to things. Like my experience and probably yours is often they stuck in their ways, very scared of new things. So happy to see that you're on the forefront on that. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. See you next time. Thanks for joining this episode of AI Ranch. As a gratitude for our work, subscribe, share this, and see you in the next episode. Thanks.